Every corporate office has someone who blends into the background. In the towering glass headquarters of Marston Technologies in downtown Chicago, that someone was Daniel Ruiz. Daniel arrived before sunrise every day. By the time the first wave of employees stepped out of the elevators with their lattes and Bluetooth headsets, the floors were already spotless and the trash bins emptied. Most people never noticed him. Some barely made eye contact. To them, he was simply the janitor. But Daniel noticed everything. He noticed which executive argued loudly on the phone every Tuesday morning. He noticed which intern stayed late and cried quietly in the restroom after being scolded. He noticed which managers said good morning and which ones never bothered. Daniel was 38 years old, soft-spoken, with calm brown eyes and a posture that carried quiet dignity. Few people knew that he had once owned a small construction company in Arizona before the recession wiped him out. Fewer still knew he was raising his 10-year-old daughter Sophia alone after losing his wife to illness 3 years earlier. Cleaning offices at night and early mornings wasn't the dream he once had, but it was honest work, and it paid the bills. On the 22nd floor, in the marketing department, a different kind of energy ruled the space. Bright, competitive, loud. That department was led by Jason Caldwell, a rising manager in his early 30s who loved attention almost as much as he loved hitting quarterly targets. Jason had built a team that mirrored his personality. Quick-witted, ambitious, sometimes a little cruel in the name of humor. It started on a slow Friday afternoon. The marketing team had just finished a big campaign launch, and the tension had eased. They were scrolling through social media when one of the junior associates, Brittany, spotted Daniel outside the conference room, carefully polishing the glass walls. She smirked and said, "You ever notice he's always here? Like he lives in this building?" Jason glanced up. "The janitor." "Yeah," Brittany replied. "He's kind of mysterious." Another associate, Mark, chimed in. "I heard he doesn't talk much. I tried making small talk once. Total brick wall." Jason leaned back in his chair, an idea forming. "You know what would be funny?" That sentence had launched many questionable ideas in that office. Jason lowered his voice conspiratorially. "What if we set him up on a blind date?" The room erupted in laughter. "With who?" Brittany asked, already grinning. "With no one," Jason said. "That's the point." They imagined decorating the break room with cheap dollar store decorations, sending Daniel an anonymous message saying someone admired him and wanted to meet him after his shift. They would hide with their phones, record his reaction, maybe even post it privately in their group chat. "It's harmless," Jason said. "Just a little fun." No one asked whether Daniel would find it harmless. By Monday, the plan was in motion. Brittany slipped a folded note into Daniel's supply cart while he was cleaning the hallway. The note read, "I see how hard you work every day. I think you're kind and handsome. Meet me in the 22nd floor break room Friday at 6 p.m. I'll be wearing blue." Daniel found the note an hour later. He read it twice. His first instinct was to assume it was a mistake. No one in that building had ever called him handsome. He looked around, half expecting someone to jump out laughing. But the hallway was empty. He folded the note carefully and placed it in his pocket. That night at home, Sophia noticed he seemed distracted. "Papa, you're smiling," she said. "Am I?" he replied, surprised. He hadn't dated since his wife passed away. The idea both terrified and warmed him. He told himself it was probably a joke. But what if it wasn't? All week, he debated whether to show up. Friday arrived. The marketing team decorated the break room with blue balloons and a cheap plastic tablecloth. They left a single chair at a small table in the center. Then they hid in the adjacent conference room, peeking through the glass. At 5:58 p.m., Daniel stepped out of the elevator. He had changed into a clean button-down shirt. His hair was neatly combed. In his hand, he held a single small bouquet of grocery store flowers. The laughter behind the glass quieted for a moment. "Wow, he actually came," Mark whispered. Daniel walked slowly into the break room. He looked around at the decorations, confusion flickering across his face. He checked the time on his old wristwatch. 6 o'clock. He set the flowers gently on the table and sat down. Minutes passed. In the conference room, Brittany stifled a laugh. Jason held up his phone, recording. Daniel's expression shifted from hopeful to uncertain. He stood, adjusted a balloon that had fallen, and sat back down. He picked up the flowers and examined them as if reconsidering whether they were foolish. At 6:10 p.m., Jason decided it was time to end the charade. He opened the conference room door dramatically and walked out, clapping slowly. The rest of the team followed, laughing. Looking sharp, Daniel, Jason said with a smirk. Daniel stood up, his face flushing. I don't understand. It was just a joke, Brittany said between giggles. A blind date. Get it? Mark added, you should have seen your face. Daniel looked at the decorations, then at the group of employees surrounding him with their phones raised. His hand tightened slightly around the bouquet. I see, he said quietly. He didn't shout. He didn't curse. He simply placed the flowers back on the table. I hope you had fun, he added. There was something in his tone that made the laughter falter. And then the elevator doors opened. No one noticed at first. Evelyn Harper, the CEO of Marston Technologies, stepped onto the floor. Evelyn was known for her sharp mind and even sharper instincts. She rarely visited departments unannounced, but she had stayed late reviewing financial projections and decided to walk through the floors before heading home. The sound of laughter and raised voices drew her toward the break room. She paused at the entrance, taking in the scene. Balloons. Phones recording. A janitor in a button-down shirt holding flowers. A group of employees smirking. The room fell silent as someone whispered, "That's the CEO." Jason turned, his confidence draining instantly. Evelyn's gaze moved from face to face before settling on Daniel. What's going on here? She asked calmly. No one answered. Daniel cleared his throat. It was just a misunderstanding, ma'am. Jason forced a laugh. We were just having some fun. Team bonding. Evelyn stepped further into the room. Her heels clicked against the tile. She looked at the flowers on the table. Then she looked at Daniel again. And she said 8 words that no one there would ever forget. In this company, dignity is not optional. Silence pressed in from every side. Evelyn continued, her voice steady but firm. What I see here is not team bonding. I see a group of adults humiliating a man who works harder than most of you realize. Jason opened his mouth to respond, but she raised a hand. Do you know his name? She asked. No one spoke. She turned to Daniel. Your name is Daniel Ruiz, correct? Daniel nodded, stunned. Yes, ma'am. I've seen you here every morning before sunrise, she said. You keep this building running. You deserve respect. The marketing team shifted uncomfortably. Evelyn's eyes hardened. Phones. Down. Now. One by one, they lowered them. This is not who we are, she said. Or at least, it will not be anymore. She turned to Daniel. Mr. Ruiz, would you mind walking with me? Daniel hesitated, then nodded. They stepped into the hallway, leaving the stunned marketing team behind. Inside her office, Evelyn gestured for him to sit. I'm sorry for what happened, she said. Daniel shook his head. It's not your fault. No, she replied, but it is my responsibility. She asked him about his life, his work schedule, his background. For the first time since joining the company, Daniel felt truly seen. When he mentioned his past construction business, Evelyn leaned forward. You ran your own company. Yes, ma'am. Small crew. We specialized in residential renovations. Why did you stop? The recession, he said simply. And then, life. Evelyn studied him thoughtfully. The following Monday, an email went out to the entire company announcing a mandatory all-hands meeting. Rumors spread quickly. At 9 a.m., every employee gathered in the main atrium. Jason and his team stood stiffly near the back. Evelyn stepped onto the stage. She spoke about company values, about culture, about the unseen people who make success possible. Then she surprised everyone. I would like to introduce someone, she said. Daniel Ruiz. A murmur rippled through the crowd as Daniel walked onto the stage, visibly nervous. Daniel has been part of this company longer than many of you, Evelyn continued. Starting today, he will be joining our facilities development team as a project supervisor. We have several office renovation plans in motion, and after reviewing his background, I believe his experience makes him uniquely qualified. Gasps echoed. Jason stared, speechless. Daniel felt like the ground had shifted beneath him. He hadn't expected this. Evelyn turned to him. Your hard work has not gone unnoticed. The applause started slowly, then grew louder. But the story didn't end there. Later that week, an internal investigation reviewed the events of Friday evening. Jason received a formal reprimand and was removed from his leadership position pending further evaluation. Brittany and Mark were required to attend professional conduct training and placed on probation. Some employees grumbled that the consequences were too harsh. Others felt justice had finally been served. Daniel faced a different challenge. Not everyone welcomed his new role. A few managers questioned whether a former janitor could handle project supervision. Whispers followed him in hallways. But Daniel let his work speak. Within months, he streamlined maintenance processes, negotiated better vendor contracts, and saved the company thousands of dollars. His calm leadership style earned quiet respect. One afternoon, Jason approached him in the parking garage. "I owe you an apology," Jason said, avoiding eye contact. "What we did was wrong." Daniel considered him for a moment. "Why did you do it?" Jason sighed. "I thought it was harmless. I didn't think about how it would feel." Daniel nodded. "That's the problem. Most people don't think." He extended his hand. After a brief hesitation, Jason shook it. As for the flowers, Daniel brought them home that night instead of throwing them away. Sophia placed them in a vase on the kitchen table. "Did she like them?" Sophia asked innocently. Daniel smiled softly. "They weren't for the right person." Months later, at the company holiday gala, Daniel stood near the buffet when Evelyn approached him again. "You've done impressive work," she said. "Thank you for giving me the chance," he replied. She shook her head. "You earned it long before I stepped into that break room." Across the room, employees who once ignored him now greeted him warmly. Not because of his new title, but because the culture had shifted. Respect was no longer tied to job descriptions. And somewhere in that building, the echo of those 8 words still lingered. In this company, dignity is not optional.